The stars twinkled above Earth Station Alpha as the first Terry ship approached. Humans and aliens had been talking for 6 months, but this was different. The Terry were sending someone important to live with humans. Captain Kim stood tall in his blue uniform, watching through the large window as the silver ship docked. His heart beat faster. The Earth Council had chosen him for this special job, and he couldn't mess it up. "They're here, sir," said his assistant. Kim nodded. "Let's welcome our guests." The airlock doors opened with a soft hiss. 3 tall Terry aliens walked through. They had light blue skin that seemed to glow slightly and long, elegant limbs. The 2 males wore simple silver suits, but between them stood a female Terry who took Kim's breath away. She wore flowing robes of shimmering material that changed colors like an opal. Her face was delicate, with large eyes that reflected light like mirrors. Small glowing dots ran along her arms in beautiful patterns. "I am Advisor Lorne," said one of the male Terry. "This is Advisor Pelm. And this," he gestured to the female, "is Minji, the jewel of our people." Minji bowed her head slightly, her movements graceful like water. "Welcome to Earth Station Alpha," Kim said with a small bow. "I am Captain Kim." Lorne stepped forward. "As discussed in our agreements, Minji will stay with you as our ambassador. She represents the finest qualities of our people." Kim noticed something odd in the way Lorne spoke about Minji, almost like she was an object. He pushed the thought away. Different cultures had different ways. "We have prepared quarters for Ambassador Minji," Kim said, "and I'll help her learn about humans during her stay." Lorne and Pelm exchanged quick glances. "You misunderstand," Pelm said. "Minji is not just an ambassador. She is a gift to humanity. To you specifically, Captain. She is the most beautiful of our kind, trained in all the arts of pleasure and companionship." Kim's eyes widened. "I'm sorry, but humans don't. We don't give people as gifts." Minji spoke for the first time, her voice musical. "Captain, I am honored to be chosen. I have studied your language and customs for many cycles. I will bring beauty and grace to your dwelling." Kim looked uncomfortable. "Ambassador Minji, you'll have your own quarters and complete freedom here. You're our guest, not a gift." The Terry advisors looked confused, even annoyed. Lorne's voice turned cold. "Perhaps we should speak privately, Captain." In a small meeting room, Lorne explained, "In our culture, beauty is power. By sending our most beautiful female to live among humans, we show our trust and respect. Minji has been preparing her whole life for this honor." Kim tried to understand. "On Earth, people aren't property. Everyone has rights and choices." "Of course she has status," Pelm said impatiently. "She carries the honor of our entire species. That's why we sent our best." "I'll treat her with respect as an ambassador," Kim promised. "But as an equal, not as whatever you're suggesting." The advisors seemed unhappy, but nodded. After they left, returning to their ship for the journey home, Kim showed Minji to her quarters. "These rooms are yours," he said. "You can decorate them however you like." Minji looked around the plane room with confusion. "Where will you display me?" "Display you?" "Yes, the central room of your dwelling, where others can see your status." Kim rubbed his forehead. "That's not how we do things. You're here to learn about us and teach us about your people." Minji seemed lost. "But my beauty, it's why I was chosen. It's all I have to offer." "I'm sure you have much more to offer than just your appearance," Kim said kindly. "Knowledge, ideas, friendship." That night, Kim couldn't sleep. Had Earth misunderstood this whole arrangement? The council needed to know. He sent a private message explaining the situation. The response came quickly. "Maintain diplomatic relations. Treat the ambassador with respect. Learn more about their culture without insulting them. But do not participate in anything that treats her as property." The next morning, Minji appeared at his door wearing an even more elaborate outfit, her face painted with glowing patterns. "I am ready for my first display," she announced. "There's no display," Kim said gently. Would you like to see the station instead? Meet some humans? Minji's face fell. You find me unacceptable. No, not at all. I just think you might enjoy learning about us, rather than just standing around looking beautiful. This is very strange, Minji said. On my world, being beautiful for others is the highest purpose. As they walked through the station, humans stared at the stunning alien. Minji noticed their looks and stood straighter, moving with practiced grace. See, they appreciate my beauty, she whispered to Kim. They're just curious. Most have never seen a Terry before. Dr. Park, the station's scientist, approached them. Ambassador Minji, I've been studying your people's language. Would you mind helping me with some translations? Minji looked surprised. You wish for my knowledge, not just my presence. Of course, Dr. Park smiled. Your insights would be invaluable. For the first time, Kim saw real interest in Minji's eyes. Later, in Kim's office, he received a message from the Terry homeworld. They were monitoring Minji through a small device in her jewelry and were concerned about the improper treatment of their gift. Kim sighed. This was going to be more complicated than anyone had imagined. But watching Minji discover that humans valued her for more than her appearance, he knew it was worth it. What neither humans nor Terry realized was that this misunderstanding would soon change both their worlds forever. 3 weeks had passed since Minji arrived on Earth Station Alpha. Each morning, she spent hours on her beauty rituals. She painted glowing patterns on her skin, arranged her hair like tendrils in complex designs, and put on flowing clothes that changed colors with her movements. And each morning, Captain Kim seemed not to notice. Good morning, Minji, he said as he met her for breakfast in the station's dining hall. Did you sleep well? Minji nodded, disappointed. On her world, her appearance would have earned praise and attention. Here, humans asked about her thoughts and feelings instead. I received another message from the High Council, Kim said quietly. They're asking why I haven't displayed you at any official events. Minji looked down at her food. They are concerned I bring shame to our people. That's ridiculous, Kim said. You've been wonderful. Dr. Park says your help with translations has been incredible. Minji felt a strange warm feeling at his words. No one had ever praised her work before, only her looks. Later that day, Minji sat with Dr. Park in the research lab. The kind woman was teaching her about human science. Why do you spend time teaching me? Minji asked suddenly. Dr. Park looked surprised. Because you're smart and curious. Why wouldn't I? On my world, no one would teach someone like me such things. Beautiful ones are for looking at, not for thinking. Dr. Park put down her tablet. That's terrible. It is our way, Minji said simply. Beautiful ones like me train from childhood to be perfect. We learn to move gracefully, to speak softly, to please others with our presence. And what about what pleases you? Dr. Park asked. Minji blinked her mirror-like eyes. I don't understand. What do you enjoy doing? What makes you happy? The question confused Minji. No one had ever asked what she wanted. That evening, Minji received a direct communication from Advisor Lorne. Our monitoring shows the human is not utilizing you properly, he said sternly. You must try harder to please him. He does not want me to display myself, Minji tried to explain. Then you are failing, Lorne said coldly. Remember your training. You represent our entire species. After the call ended, Minji felt tears form in her eyes. A new experience. On her world, beautiful ones never cried. It would ruin their appearance. The next morning, she went to Kim's quarters early. When he opened the door, she was wearing her most elaborate outfit and had spent hours on her appearance. I must fulfill my purpose, she announced, stepping inside uninvited. I will prepare your food, decorate your dwelling, and sit beautifully for your guests. Kim looked confused. Minji, you don't need to do any of that. Please, she said desperately. The council says I am failing. I must serve my purpose. Kim guided her to sit down. Tell me about your life before you came here. Slowly, Minji explained. She was identified as a potential beauty at age 5, when her skin first showed its luminescent quality. She was taken from her family to a special school where she learned to move, speak, and behave perfectly. She never played, never studied science or art or history. Her only value was in being beautiful for others. That sounds lonely, Kim said gently. Lonely. Minji tested the word. Perhaps, but it was a great honor. Would you like to see something? Kim asked. He took her to a small garden on the station where plants from Earth grew under special lights. These flowers are considered beautiful on Earth, he explained. But they also have other purposes. They produce oxygen, provide food for insects. Some have healing properties. Minji touched a red rose carefully. They are beautiful and useful. Everything and everyone can be both, Kim said. Including you. That night, Minji couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the flowers. On her world, some flowers were just for looking at. They were kept in special rooms, never touched, never allowed to grow naturally, just like her. The next day, Minji made a decision. When she met Kim for breakfast, she wore simple human clothes. Her hair tendrils were tied back simply, and her skin had no glowing patterns. Kim smiled but didn't comment on the change. I would like to learn more, she announced. Not just be beautiful. What would you like to learn? Everything, she said with new excitement. Science, history, art, how to be useful. Over the next few days, Minji spent less time on beauty rituals and more time in the station's library. She joined classes designed for station workers. She asked questions. She learned how to grow plants in the garden. The messages from the High Council became more frequent and more angry. They demanded images of Minji being properly displayed. They sent beauty experts to instruct her through video calls. They reminded her of her duty. One evening, Kim found Minji staring out a window at the stars, looking troubled. What's wrong? He asked. The council threatens to send others to examine my situation, she admitted. They say I dishonor our first contact by not fulfilling my purpose. What do you think your purpose is? Kim asked. Minji touched the window, her reflection showing the simpler but somehow more real version of herself than she had ever been before. I am beginning to believe my purpose should be what I choose, she said slowly. Is that allowed? On Earth, it's not just allowed, it's encouraged. Minji turned to him, her mirror eyes reflecting his image. Then I choose to learn, to be more than what I look like. Neither of them knew that back on the Terry homeworld, the High Council was already preparing to fix what they saw as a serious problem. They couldn't allow their perfect gift to be wasted. Humans clearly didn't understand the honor they had been given, and they would make sure Captain Kim learned to appreciate their generosity, whether he wanted to or not. 2 months had passed since Minji's arrival at Earth Station Alpha. The Terry beauty who once spent hours on elaborate appearance rituals now hurried through the station corridors wearing a simple Earth uniform, her hair like tendrils cut short in a practical style. Sorry I'm late, she said, sliding into a seat in the education center. 5 other humans looked up and smiled. Teacher Jun, an older man with kind eyes, nodded. We're just starting our lesson on Earth literature. Minji opened her tablet eagerly. In these 2 months, she had devoured knowledge like someone starving. She had learned to read English fluently and now spent hours in the station's digital library. After class, Captain Kim was waiting outside. How was your lesson? He asked as they walked together. Fascinating. Humans write so many stories about people changing and finding themselves. Her mirror-like eyes brightened. I think I understand why you place such value on choice and growth. Kim smiled. He had watched Minji transform day by day, shedding the artificial perfection her world demanded in favor of natural curiosity and joy. The Earth Council is pleased with your progress reports, he told her. They think your experience could help create better understanding between our species. Minji's face darkened. My council is not pleased. They sent another message demanding I return to my proper role. What did you tell them? I didn't answer, she admitted. I don't know what to say anymore. Later that day, Minji sat with Dr. Park in the science lab. The scientist had become her closest friend and was teaching her simple experiments. Perfect. Dr. Park exclaimed as Minji successfully completed a chemical analysis. You have a natural talent for this. Minji beamed. On her world, no one would have believed she could understand science. Beautiful ones weren't supposed to think, only to be seen. I want to study xenobiology, Minji announced suddenly. I want to understand how different species live and evolve. Dr. Park nodded thoughtfully. That would be a wonderful field for you. Your perspective would be valuable. That evening in her quarters, Minji looked at herself in the mirror. Her appearance had changed dramatically. Without the elaborate cosmetics and body paint, her natural blue skin glowed softly. Her cut tendrils now framed her face in a simple style. She wore comfortable earth clothes instead of flowing robes. But the biggest change was in her eyes. They still reflected light like mirrors, but now they held something new. Purpose. She touched the small jewel at her neck, the monitoring device the Terry Council used to track her. With sudden determination, she removed it and placed it in a drawer. My life is my own, she whispered. The next morning, the station hummed with activity. A human delegation was arriving to evaluate the cultural exchange program. Minji joined Captain Kim to greet them. As they waited by the docking bay, Kim noticed something. You removed your monitoring jewel, he said quietly. Minji nodded. I don't want them watching anymore. The human officials were impressed by Minji. Unlike the stiff, doll-like ambassador who had arrived months ago, they met a thoughtful, engaged individual with opinions and ideas. Your transformation is remarkable, said one official during lunch. What has been the most surprising thing about humans? Minji thought carefully. That you value change. On my world, we try to stay the same, perfect and unchanging. Here, everyone is always learning, growing, becoming different. After the delegation left, Minji went to the station's garden. She had helped plant new flowers there, and watching them grow brought her joy. As she tended the plants, Captain Kim joined her. The delegation was impressed with you, he said. I like who I'm becoming, Minji replied simply. I never knew I could be more than just beautiful. Kim helped her transplant a small flowering plant. On Earth, we have a saying, beauty is only skin deep. It means true beauty comes from within, from who you are, not just how you look. Minji smiled. I think I'm finally understanding that. That night, Minji couldn't sleep. She felt strange, lighter somehow, as if she had shed an invisible weight. She went to the observation deck and watched the stars. You should be sleeping, came a voice. It was Dr. Park. I feel like I'm becoming someone new, Minji said. Someone I never knew existed. Dr. Park sat beside her. That's what freedom does. It lets you discover who you really are. On my world, I was considered perfect, Minji said softly. But I never felt real until now. The next day, alarms blared throughout the station. Captain Kim rushed to the control room. Sir, we have an unauthorized docking request, reported an officer. It's a Terry ship. Kim's heart sank. Hail them. On the screen appeared Advisor Lorne, his face cold with disapproval. Captain Kim, we have received disturbing reports about our gift to humanity. We have come to evaluate the situation personally. Ambassador Minji is doing excellent work, Kim replied carefully. The Earth Council is very pleased. We did not send her to work, Lorne said sharply. We sent her to be admired. Our monitoring device shows she has abandoned proper Terry beauty protocols. This is unacceptable. That's her choice, Kim said firmly. Beautiful ones do not make choices, Lorne responded. We will dock in 1 hour. Prepare her for inspection. When the communication ended, Kim immediately went to find Minji. She was in the science lab with Dr. Park. They're coming for me, aren't they? Minji asked, seeing his face. Kim nodded grimly. We won't let them take you against your will. You have rights here. Minji's hands trembled slightly, but her voice was steady. I need to face them. I need to show them who I've become. As the Terry ship docked, Minji stood tall beside Captain Kim. She wore her station uniform with pride. Around her gathered friends she had made, Dr. Park, Teacher June, and others. They would soon discover that the Terry Council had not come merely to inspect their gift. They had come to take her back, by force if necessary. They couldn't allow their perfect beauty to become something they never intended, an independent person with a mind of her own. The Terry ship docked at Earth Station Alpha with a loud clang. Captain Kim stood with Minji in the arrival area, surrounded by station staff who had come to support her. Minji wore her science uniform, her short tendrils neatly brushed, standing straight and proud. The airlock doors opened, and 4 Terry stepped out. Advisor Lorne led the group, flanked by 2 tall guards wearing silver armor. Behind them walked a female Terry covered in glowing patterns and elaborate clothes, a beauty like Minji had once been. Ambassador Minji, Lorne said coldly, you have failed in your duties. Minji stepped forward. I haven't failed. I've discovered a different purpose. Lorne's eyes narrowed as he took in her appearance. Look at you, plain clothes, cut tendrils. You disgrace our people. I represent our people better now than I did before, Minji replied calmly. I share our knowledge, our history, our art with humans. They respect me for my mind, not just my appearance. The female Terry behind Lorne gasped at Minji's boldness. On their world, beautiful ones never spoke back to officials. This is worse than we feared, Lorne said to his guards. She is completely corrupted. He turned to Captain Kim. You have ruined our gift. We demand she return with us immediately for reconditioning. Kim stepped forward. Ambassador Minji is not property. She's a person with rights. She can choose where she wants to be. Choose. Lorne laughed sharply. Beautiful ones do not choose. They serve their purpose. Dr. Park joined them, standing at Minji's side. And what exactly was that purpose? You never made that clear in the diplomatic agreements. Lorne looked at the humans like they were stupid children. To demonstrate our superiority, of course. By gifting you our most perfect specimen, we showed our power and generosity. The humans exchanged shocked glances. This was very different from what Earth had understood about the exchange program. Specimen, Kim repeated, anger in his voice. You talk about her like she's an object. She is the result of generations of careful breeding and training, Lorne said proudly. Beautiful ones are created to be perfect. They have no need for education or choices. Minji felt a chill run through her body. She had always known her position in Terry society, but hearing it described so coldly to humans made her see the truth more clearly. I am not going back, she said firmly. The female Terry behind Lorne stepped forward slightly. Respected advisor, perhaps we should listen to her experiences. If humans value different qualities. Silence, Suni. Lorne snapped. You are here to observe, not speak. Suni immediately lowered her eyes and stepped back. But Minji had seen something in her face, a flash of curiosity, maybe even hope. Lorne turned back to Captain Kim. This exchange was formalized in our agreement. She belongs to us. The agreement says nothing about ownership, Kim argued. It describes a cultural exchange between equals. Perhaps we should review the exact terms, Dr. Park suggested, activating her tablet. Lorne smiled thinly. By all means. Dr. Park displayed the agreement text on a large screen. Both sides read carefully. There, Lorne pointed. It clearly states the Terry will present a beauty to humanity as a symbol of our respect. She is ours to present, ours to reclaim. But it also says to facilitate mutual understanding between our peoples. Kim countered. Minji has done exactly that. She's helped us understand your culture, and she's learned about ours. As they argued, Minji watched Suni carefully. The beautiful Terry kept glancing around the station with wide, curious eyes. When no one was looking, Minji caught her attention and nodded slightly toward a side corridor. While the officials continued debating the agreement, Minji slipped away with Suni following. "You're different," Suni whispered once they were alone. "I am myself," Minji replied, "for the first time in my life." "They told us you were damaged by human influence," Suni said, "that you'd forgotten your training and purpose. I didn't forget it. I chose something better." Minji touched her own short tendrils. "Here, I'm valued for my thoughts, my abilities. I'm learning, growing, making my own decisions." Suni's eyes widened. "Is it true humans let females study science? That you work in a laboratory?" "Yes," Minji smiled. "I'm learning about biology. Would you like to see?" Meanwhile, the argument in the docking area was growing heated. "This discussion is pointless," Lorne finally snapped. "We're taking her back. The High Council has ordered it." "Not without her consent," Kim said firmly, stepping between Lorne and the corridor where Minji had gone. Lorne smiled coldly. "You misunderstand, Captain. We don't need her consent. Beautiful ones don't have the right to refuse." Suddenly, everyone noticed Minji was missing. "Where is she?" Lorne demanded. "Where is Suni?" asked one of the guards, looking around. Alarms suddenly blared through the station. On the main screen appeared an image of Minji standing in the broadcast center. "People of Earth and Terry," she began, her voice clear and strong. "I need to tell you the truth about this exchange." Lorne's face darkened with rage. "Stop this transmission immediately." But Captain Kim stood firm. "This is an Earth station. She has the right to speak." On screens throughout the station and across Earth, and now being transmitted to the Terry homeworld, Minji revealed everything. "I was sent here as a gift, an object to display," she explained. "Beautiful ones like me are bred and trained on our world to be perfect, silent symbols of status. We have no choices, no education, no purpose beyond our appearance." She gestured to Suni, who now stood beside her, looking terrified but determined. "But humans showed me another way to live," Minji continued. "They value minds, not just bodies. They believe everyone deserves choices and opportunities." Suni stepped forward nervously. "It's true," she said softly. "We are told our highest purpose is to be beautiful for others. But seeing Minji now, seeing her happy, strong, with real friends, makes me wonder what else we could be." Lorne stormed toward the broadcast center, his guards following. Captain Kim and station security moved quickly to intercept them. "You can't stop this," Kim told him. "The truth is already out. This is an attack on our culture," Lorne shouted. "You've turned our perfect beauty into a rebel." "No," Kim replied calmly. "You sent us a person, not an object, and people grow and change." As Minji continued speaking to both worlds, revealing the hidden truth of beautiful ones' lives, something unexpected happened. Messages began arriving from the Terry homeworld, thousands of them. From younger Terry, who had never questioned their society's treatment of beautiful ones. "Is this true?" they asked. "Do humans really value knowledge over appearance?" Lorne watched in horror as his carefully planned retrieval mission transformed into a cultural crisis. Beautiful ones across the Terry world were watching, listening, questioning. And Minji, once a perfect, silent symbol, had found her voice. The Terry Council would need to make a choice. Take her by force and risk a diplomatic disaster, or face the changes her transformation had set in motion. The Terry High Council's emergency meeting chamber was filled with angry voices. On the large screen, they watched as their perfect plan fell apart. Minji's broadcast had reached every corner of their world, and now beautiful ones everywhere were asking questions that had never been allowed before. "This is your fault, Lorne," shouted one council member. "You were supposed to bring her back quietly." Advisor Lorne stood stiffly. "How could I know the humans had corrupted her so completely? Or that she would dare to speak publicly?" On Earth Station Alpha, Minji waited nervously with Captain Kim and her friends. 3 days had passed since her broadcast, and the Terry ship remained docked. Inside, Lorne and his team were receiving constant messages from their homeworld. "What do you think will happen?" Minji asked Kim. "I don't know," he admitted. "But whatever comes next, you won't face it alone." The station's communication system suddenly activated. The stern face of the Terry High Chancellor appeared on screen. "Captain Kim," the Chancellor said formally, "we wish to speak with Minji." Minji stepped forward, her heart racing. "I am here, Chancellor." The old Terry studied her for a long moment. "Your actions have caused great disruption on our world." "I told the truth," Minji said simply. "A truth that was never meant to be spoken." The Chancellor sighed heavily. "But now that it has been, we must address it. The younger generation is questioning our traditions. Beautiful ones across our world are refusing their duties." Dr. Park moved closer to Minji in support. "What do you want from me?" Minji asked. "The Council has made a decision," the Chancellor said. "We will not force you to return. Instead, we wish to learn." Minji blinked in surprise. "Learn? Yes. If humans truly value beautiful ones for their minds rather than just appearance, perhaps we have overlooked something important." The Chancellor looked uncomfortable with these words, but continued. "We propose a new type of exchange. We will send educators to Earth to observe your methods of teaching, and we request that you help teach some of our beautiful ones about human knowledge." Minji could hardly believe what she was hearing. "You want me to teach?" "Under strict supervision," the Chancellor added quickly. "This is not an endorsement of human ways, merely an investigation." After the call ended, the station erupted in celebration. Minji had won her freedom, but she sat quietly, thinking. "Are you okay?" Kim asked, sitting beside her. "I'm thinking about all the beautiful ones back home," she said softly. "They're still trapped in a life they didn't choose." "Change takes time," Kim reminded her. "But it started. You started it." 1 month later, the first group of Terry educators arrived at Earth Station Alpha. They were stern, suspicious, and clearly uncomfortable with human ways. With them came 5 young, beautiful ones, selected for what the Council called experimental education. Minji met them in the arrival area. One of them was Suni, who had returned to Terry with Lorne, but had been allowed to come back. "Welcome," Minji said warmly. "Are you ready to learn?" The beautiful ones looked nervous but excited. On their world, they had never been asked questions or expected to have opinions. Minji had prepared carefully for this moment. With Dr. Park's help, she had designed special classes that would introduce Terry beautiful ones to human knowledge while respecting their cultural background. In the station's classroom, she began their first lesson. "Today we will learn about choice," she said. "On Earth, choice is considered a basic right. Everyone can decide many things for themselves." One beautiful one raised her hand hesitantly. "But how do they know which choice is right?" "That's the wonderful part," Minji explained. "They decide what's right for them. Sometimes they make mistakes, but they learn from those mistakes." The Terry educators watched with disapproval, taking notes. Over the following weeks, the beautiful ones blossomed. Like flowers finally given sunlight, they grew in confidence and curiosity. They asked questions. They formed opinions. They began to see themselves as people, not just objects. The educators sent worried reports back to the High Council, but something unexpected happened. Instead of ordering an end to the program, the Council asked for more information. "Public opinion is shifting," explained one educator reluctantly. "Videos of the beautiful ones learning and speaking and making choices have gone viral on our networks. Many are calling for reforms." 6 months after Minji's broadcast, the Terry High Council announced a limited reform of the Beautiful Ones training program. For the first time, they would receive basic education along with their beauty training. "It's not enough," Minji told Captain Kim when they heard the news. "But it's a start." Kim smiled. "You've changed an entire culture in just months. That's remarkable. Minji looked out at the stars through the station window. I never meant to start a revolution. I just wanted to be myself. 1 year after Minji first arrived on Earth Station Alpha, a special ceremony was held. Representatives from Earth and Terry gathered to sign a new cultural exchange agreement. This time, the terms were clear: exchange of knowledge, arts, and ideas between equals. Minji had been appointed the official Terry ambassador to Earth, the first beautiful one ever given such a position of authority. As she signed the agreement, she wore a simple Earth-style dress, but had painted traditional Terry patterns on her arms, a blend of both worlds. "Ambassador Minji," said the Earth representative, "your courage has opened new possibilities for both our peoples." That evening, Minji found a quiet moment alone with Captain Kim in the station garden they had planted together. The flowers were in full bloom. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" she asked. Kim shook his head. "When they first told me a beauty woman was being sent as a gift, I expected a simple cultural misunderstanding, not a complete transformation of Terry society." Minji touched a flower gently. "On my world, they used to keep beautiful ones in special rooms, never letting us grow or change. Just like these flowers would die if kept in darkness. And now we're learning to grow in our own way," she said. "Some beautiful ones still choose traditional roles. Others are becoming scientists, artists, even politicians. The important thing is they can choose." As they walked through the garden, Minji thought about her journey. She had arrived as a gift, a beautiful object meant to be displayed. She was leaving as herself, a person with knowledge, purpose, and freedom. And across two worlds, others were following the path she had created, finding their own way between ancient traditions and new possibilities, between outer beauty and inner strength. "The most beautiful thing," Minji said softly, "is becoming who you truly are."